In this video, I'm going to be reviewing 5 different data analytics AI tools to see if this artificial intelligence stuff is actually beneficial to data analysts, or if it's going to replace our jobs, or if it's really just going to be a very useful tool for our jobs, or if they're just like really not up to snuff yet. I'll be trying these out for the first time along with y'all. And yeah, as a recap, I'm a digital marketing data analyst. It's a bit different from a regular data analyst. It's kind of like a subset where we're more focused on understanding various marketing tools and um, web analytics tools and dashboard building tools. They're called business intelligence tools, rather than just focusing too much on crunching the data itself and the numbers and programming. That said, I think there's a lot of convergence in these fields, and I want to see if these data analytics AI tools can really help fuel the system. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. And we're going to look at these tools. Now, the one tool I've used is ChatGPT, as we've all had. These other ones I've never touched before. Now, with ChatGPT, I think this one is the most holistic, most robust. You could do the most within it. And I think I guess the issue is maybe it's too broad, maybe it's too much of a jack of all trades. Personally, I found it to be really helpful. It can't solve everything, honestly, but it'll be like a little bit of a guiding touch when, let's say, I have a large, difficult SQL statement and I can't figure out what's wrong with it. So let me give you a real world example that I would potentially use as a prompt. So I would say something like, you are a BigQuery and Google Analytics for expert. Those are 2 tools I use. I'm trying to frame the bot, the ChatGPT AI, to understand what they're an expert in. And then I'll say something like, we have an SQL query that we use to pull data that has been brought into BigQuery from GA4 to get the specific metrics we want. Unfortunately, the UTM data in BigQuery is not accurate. We see in GA4 that the UTM data appropriately says we got 100 conversions, or not conversions, they're called events now, in GA4 for a specific custom GA4 event we have. But in BigQuery, we don't see the same amount of events. We only see 2 events attributed to that UTM campaign. And then I might phrase this prior sentence a little bit differently: UTM campaign data. So, it is a bit of gobbledygook if you're not an expert in web analytics. But to explain this for beginners, what essentially is happening is you use UTM queries, which are like words you attach to the end of a link, a URL link, to provide extra data on where people are coming from for your analytics tool. So, let's say you do email campaign or a Google, you run a social media ad, you're going to provide a link for where you want users to click to. So that's where the UTM stuff comes in. And this is actually a real issue we had, where we were noticing how the UTM data was not coming through in BigQuery into our dashboard of choice, Looker Studio. So we were like, what's going on? And then we checked GA4 because we knew we sent a lot of clicks through an email campaign. And we saw in GA4 that they were coming up. So this would be a sample query that I would run. And I may also even paste the exact example of the SQL query in here, so the tool has more data to review. I'm not going to do that in this case because the query itself has, client sensitive information. So we're just going to run it as is. And then I'll end with a question. How can we diagnose the cause of the issue? And then press enter, and then we'll see what result it comes out with. The result you'll see here is going to be very similar to the result it will show when I actually provide the real query. So don't be worried that the answer may look different because I didn't. It's even structured and formatted the same. So it'll give these big heading bullet points. And frankly, I would say it gave me a few ideas, but some of these ideas were too kind of broad, vague, beginner, or a bit off, just kind of stuff that implies that this tool doesn't understand the question, or at least understand these tools well. So at least for now, I would give ChatGPT like a rating of a 3 out of 5 in this department. For example, with this first question, check data sampling in GA4. It's basically saying that like in GA4, they have this thing called thresholding where if the data is small enough, they will kind of block or not show all of it. And they'll give you a little notification, an icon at the top of each report page you look at to notify you of this. It'll be an exclamation point. The reason they do this is for data privacy. So if it's a small size, small time frame, there's a chance you could extrapolate individual data if they gave you all of it, so they will threshold it. It's also called sample that data for you. I checked the exact data that I was looking at. It was not thresholded because it was large enough. So it just on a very high and obvious level to me, the tool doesn't understand my question, or at least what I'm saying, because I literally said in here that we see all the data, we see the data appropriately in GA4, but it's thinking that I don't see the accurate data in GA4. So I'm going to say respectfully, this implies you do not understand this completely. You are thinking that we don't see 100% of the accurate data in GA4. We do. It's in BigQuery that the data is wrong. Can you try again? So sometimes with this type of tool, you have to keep refining it. And, I sometimes will just be very friendly with it, thus the respectfully thing, because there's this whole like stigma that, oh, if you're mean to the tool, then it'll remember it once the AI overlords rule the world. Is that actually going to happen? No, but it's a superstition. Sometimes I'm just blunt and upfront with it. But in that instance, I was a bit friendly, and then it said thank you for the clarification, and then it gave some better recommendations. So let's look at this. Verify export completeness. Ensure that the GA4 to BigQuery export is correctly configured, including those with UTM. So not gonna be the most useful because like literally to connect those two tools, it's like one big checkbox, and then there's like a 2 or 3 settings you could tick or untick. So there's really not that much you can do. You can enable streaming, which is basically real-time data. So for that reason, I would rate this still like a 3.5 out of 5 at best. So let's move on some of these new tools. Now with this tool here, this is called Kaggle, and this is more of a data analyst type of tool because I can't ask it questions and give prompts like this and give kind of like strategy based questions on like debugging the issue I have in BigQuery. Instead, all it can really do is, well, I wouldn't phrase it like it's only can do this, but one of the biggest things, it's more narrow focused on essentially analyzing a data set you give it and then building something like a dashboard or something from it. So this is something potentially where AI could eliminate some of our jobs if it's building these incredible dashboards and choosing the right metrics and having the right strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this sample data set I pulled from Maven Analytics on Cafe Reward offers, just as an example. We're going to name this Cafe Rewards and then click Create. And by the way, I'm doing this in real time with you. I've never used this tool myself, not even to prep for this video. And we're going to see how this works. So the data was pulled in already. You can see it made some graphs and created this row of graphs in the original data set. The data itself looks interesting. So you got, male, female, you got became a member over, the range of that income and age, which is really cool. I mean, this is essentially what you want from such a simple data set, but that visualization is probably not the most appealing that stakeholders would want to see. So now I'm wondering, okay, what can you do with this? Can you use AI to turn this into like an actual full screen dashboard? Or is this the extent of this data? So let's go into this and take a look. So now we're in the column view, and it looks like it's kind of give us a little bit larger of a graph. And it's also showing the percentage that are missing or mismatched. So not bad, not great. I think nowadays stakeholders are used to seeing a very robust actual full screen dashboard. So if this is all it offers, I would give this like a 3.7 out of 5. And if they do offer something else, they're not making it intuitive how you could turn this into a more fully fleshed dashboard. So I'm going to click New Notebook here. And this just seems to be something where you can run some queries on the original data sets if you write the code yourself. So not really as automated. And so with this one, it just seems to be rather limited on what you can do. Nonetheless, it was able to compile these things really quickly. But you could also paste that into ChatGPT and it would do almost the same thing. So is it really going to be useful? By the way, this is ChatGPT 4.0. So let me just do a little cross-reference here just to show you, what this tool can do. I'm going to say, give us some graphs to show leadership based on this data. And we're going to give it a little bit of time to cook. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump to the next tool. Let's give Kaggle one last chance. Let's see if there's anything else to offer. Nope. We'll move on to the next tool. This is tool 3. This tool is called Formula Bot. So it's similar, but as you can see, it has a kind of similar interface as ChatGPT. I would not be surprised if it literally just took it reskinned ChatGPT and then it added some, custom functionality on top of that to be more focused on data analysis. So let's go ahead and click the US Census Bureau data to use as an example here. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and just use a sample question. What is the total population distribution across different counties in each state? And while this is good that it gives some recommendations, as the strategist, I typically have to come up with the best questions, business questions to ask and identify the best metrics myself. And that requires a decent amount of brain power. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of stakeholders and business leaders for large established companies who still need a lot of help with digital. They don't know what the best metrics are to measure for websites and, what you should do to actually, see the progress and growth of your business goals. So I really like this interface. I've seen previews of various other data analytics tools, and it literally just looks like an exact reskin of ChatGPT. But this one, they even made the interface look a bit different. There's this left-hand side part where you can see the US Census data all in one row, on one column or section, the left half of the screen, basically. And then you can see that data, it's really well displayed. And then on the right here, Formula Bot has this answer. It even shows some code that can be expanded or collapsed. And then it goes through, it says the data set contains information about various countries. So it describes the data set. And then it says you could download it, key observations. And then it just gives some observations here. And it says the data set provides the total population. The data set is sorted. So it really didn't answer the question I had, which is, what is the total population distribution? So let's go a bit deeper here. Let me ask you, can you provide 3 charts in a dashboard format about some key insights about the data? And then I mean, the magic is really in the prompt. You have to almost become a master in writing the right prompts. So in this world of AI, the skill set becomes more about how can you get better at understanding the strategy, the goals, and writing the right prompts to get the information you want. So I have to be specific here. Typically, the goal is usually to see if like there's anything really impactful that we can use to, make more money or further the goals of that organization. Sometimes I work with a nonprofit and their goals are more about spreading awareness about a disease and, prevention. So in this case, with the Census Bureau data, one example question could be, or one part of the prompt I would add is, our goal is to see if there are any anomalies we have to be concerned about that we missed. Please focus on that goal. Add that to the prompt, and we'll give it some time to bake with this response while we check back in on the ChatGPT answer. So as you can see here, it analyzed the data, it generated a few graphs, offer success by type. So we could see here, and by the way, leadership stakeholders, when you build these dashboards, they need to look at this and at a glance, within like a split second or less than 5 seconds, they should be able to understand intuitively what this is. They're not as technical as you, so they shouldn't have to really think it through. They're not as familiar with these terms. You need to make this dead simple for them. So with this first one, we have offer success by type. I would say it's not intuitive at a glance, but if you give it like 10 seconds, you start to realize, oh, this is the number of offers and then which ones are received. So I would probably have to do some refining myself with the prompts, and then really get this out to something more intuitive. I would have renamed the title to something more intuitive than that, like which offers get the most, which offer types get the most offers. You gotta say it in plain English. And so that's one thing. And then another thing is these tools will spit out the charts in here, but usually when you get to more established, sophisticated companies, the data is already in some data, a business intelligence software or tool or cloud-based tool. So you're manipulating this data set live, or you're pulling it into the data. So relying on the tool to give you some PNG image of a chart is just not going to do it. So that's going to be another thing. This one's much better. You can see really intuitively the age groups and the age ranges. I love it. And this last one, customer income distribution. I love the green. Green means money. It makes a lot of sense. Number of customers. It's great. And then, there's some explanation. So, so far I'm pretty impressed with ChatGPT, but like I still wouldn't give it anywhere close to a 5 out of 5. And now this is finished baking. So let's take a look to see what Formula Bot has provided. once again, it's limited to you uploading a data set and looking at that data set. So when you have like some big data in BigQuery, or you're working with SQL and you want them to analyze that SQL query, your hands are tied. This is kind of very reliant on you uploading a CSV. That being said, let's see what it provides. So key observations: the top 10 countries with the highest population are displayed. Highest unemployments are displayed. Scatter plot shows the number of employed and the mean commute time. So first off, these graphs look, just thematically different from these. They're, the color range, the color scheme is much more, I guess, robust. It's a whole spectrum, whereas these are just one color. You have this rainbow, like purple, the pink hue going here. I love it. And they're pretty intuitive. Top 10 countries, highest population, great. Top 10 countries with unemployment. You can see that by municipio, and then unemployment versus mean commute time, number of unemployed, mean commute time. And you see that bell curve distribution. So fairly useful. Once again, like you probably would have to, you could right click and then save these as PNG images. So, it's good for what seems to be like basic data analysis. But when you're working with like a real data set, like Facebook data from Facebook, or from Facebook ads, or like a big cloud warehouse of BigQuery data from multiple sources, your internal organization's data, your Google Analytics. How is this tool going to do that? You would have to maybe export a table from BigQuery as a sample and then manipulate it in here to see if it can get you anything of use. So, it is useful, but it also very much relies on you to come up with the questions. I like that it has suggested questions here, but frankly, sometimes the suggested questions are going to be off. The best questions come from your noggin in terms of how to find those anomalies or insights in the data. Okay, we're going to move on to a big hitter. Julius is apparently pretty well known in this space, or at least better known than the others, except for ChatGPT. At least in the data analyst space, this is the big one for AI tools. So, first and foremost, it looks like it has a more robust infrastructure where you can literally ask it a question like I did with ChatGPT at the start. So let's go ahead and paste this in here and see what it answers with. And you can see the interface is a bit more customized, but it's kind of centered. But I would also not be surprised if this is just a reskin of ChatGPT with some extra layers on it. And this kind of verifies it with its answer. Look how close this answer matches kind of the format and the way that this type of answer in ChatGPT is. It's even almost the same answers. Check data sampling. Check for data sampling. And some of this stuff is just, I would say it's slightly better. Like at a glance, I could tell that some of the things are a little bit more savvy, but like by how much? Like this one here. Verify event definitions. Ensure that the event you're looking at is defined the same way in both GA4 and BigQuery. It's like, dude, that's super obvious. I know it's going to be defined the same because I can see the name. The name is, whatever. I'm not going to give the real example, but like add underscore to underscore cart. That's pretty obvious if the name was different. Like I would be able to tell that. And then this one here, examine UTM parameter handling. The discrepancy in UTM data suggests there might be an issue with how UTM parameters are being captured or processed. In BigQuery, check the traffic source fields in the event. Compare these with the UTM parameters you expect to see. So this one is actually a bit more advanced in their understanding. Traffic source does get broken out into those 3 categories in BigQuery, but that is something I did check. At least it's better understanding what's going on than BigQuery in my interpretation. Now this is where I think it's better. It actually provides a sample query to use in BigQuery for me to start to diagnose the issue. So this could be really helpful. That's something ChatGPT didn't do. And so I do think that whatever, layer of extra code that they added to build Julius, um, it does seem to be better than ChatGPT in this regard. I would use Julius instead of ChatGPT, just based off this initial reaction. But you could clearly tell that the base of how it's doing what it does is still based on the fundamentals of ChatGPT, and you can still see a lot of the results and similarities from doing that. So let's do another thing here. Let's upload the sample file I had earlier. And by the way, you could also connect to a Google Sheet or apparently manage secrets, which I assume is for some API connection. So this is already looking to be a bit more robust in how you can upload data sets. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that Cafe Rewards data set. And we're going to just, use the exact same prompt that I used with Formula Bot just to do a apples to apples compare. Well, I can't. They're using a different data set. I'll use the same one I used. Oh, I didn't use a prompt for Kaggle. So in this case, I'll just kind of use a similar type of prompt as Julius or as Formula Bot on Julius, but it will be slightly different to account for this other data. Oh, that's so weird. It looks like Formula Bot disables copy and paste. Is that true? Or did I get the... Oh, that's so weird. I'm highlighting the prompt to try and copy it, and it will not let me highlight the prompt. Sometimes companies do this to prevent you from stealing like proprietary information. I think that's really weird how they do that. Okay, I'll just write it out again. Can you provide 3 charts in the dashboard format about some key insights? Key insights. We are looking for any anomalies or interesting insights that we might have missed earlier on our own. Okay, so we're going to send that prompt out and then give it a little bit of time to cook and spit something out. While that's running, we're going to talk about this last one. This is Domo. This came up in the top of the Google ads when I Googled for data analytics AI tools. Now, what's funny about that is people are paying to show up at the top of those search results, but I would say like 2 of the other ads I clicked brought us to something that wasn't even AI. It wasn't even close to an AI tool for data analytics. So like, there's just a lot of junk out there. There's like people just spending money to advertise something that doesn't have to do with it. Like I got led to like an IBM product that had nothing to do with any of this. But this one, Domo, seems to be legit, like an actual tool of some sort. It's very similar. So we're going to go ahead and upload the same data set I've been uploading to the others. You also notice that, you can upload from all the major sources. Oh, but it says here, please choose a CSV, XLS, or... So my file type was not even supported. Oh, that's because it was a zip file. So it looks like I have to unzip it first. And then within there are CSVs. So I'm going to go ahead and upload one of the CSVs. There's actually 4 CSVs. So it's going to have to actually analyze less data because the other tools were able to analyze all 4 CSVs in a zip file. Whereas this tool had to unzip it and then I had to choose one of the CSVs. I would say not a huge deal. I would only dock off like half a point for this. Maybe even less than that, a quarter of a point. It's not a huge deal. Because you could always combine the CSVs yourself. It's a little extra work though, so obviously not as great. We're gonna hit import data. I'm just gonna save and run. And it's going to process this data. Now let's jump back to Julius. Or what was the tool we were just on? Yeah, it was Julius. So it's gone ahead, extracted those zip files, loaded those 4 CSVs into it, and then examined the data. I think it's a bit overkill that's going through every step, and then it seems to be either it seems to be writing the code and displaying the code it needs to visualize that data. And it looks like it says it hit an error. Seems there was an error with the data structure in the value column. Let's investigate the data further. Um, Seems there's an issue with the initial code. And after that, it still successfully were able to create some charts. So we have this customer age chart, bar graph with a line. And yeah, we do see an anomaly here with some of them being very old for some reason. And then here's the histogram of the same thing. Average age is 63 years. Oldest is 118. And then here's the same distribution of offer types, which actually looks very similar to the one we saw here, just styled a bit differently. And then we have the same thing in the table here. And then it concludes with total events by type. So I would say this one's pretty legit. Julius is probably my favorite. I give it like a 4 out of 5. Um, Once again, it's not going to solve everything for you, especially since I'm not just trying to spit out some quick PNG images of my work. I'm immersed in that data, pulling that data into like a dashboard like Looker Studio and working with that data. And if something breaks, at best, I could come to this tool, ask it a question, hope it really understands what I'm doing, but I would still have to go back into the tool itself and start to fix it. So the real opportunity I feel is when if there's some integration with those tools, or if those tools themselves like Tableau, Google Looker Studio comes out with their own AI tools. But if you're just analyzing data, asking it questions, if you have like a real world issue like this, it can at least spit out some ideas that I wouldn't have considered or I may have forgotten. So there is some use to this. I would give it like on a scale of usefulness, 2.5 out of 5 to 3 out of 5. Like it's not gonna solve my job for me, but it has some use. Okay, let's jump back into Domo. It's ready to start visualizing. This is the last tool we're going to be doing. And so it's supposedly going to be kind of a competitor to I guess Looker Studio or Tableau, but a done for you thing and just I guess used to simple data sets. It doesn't seem like there's an option to connect into like Facebook ads API. Nonetheless, let's see what we could do here. Let's go ahead and add a bar chart. Okay. And then select the columns. Oh, this is terrible in the sense that there's no AI to it. It's just essentially me having to build this myself. So it's just a standard BI tool. There's no AI to it whatsoever. If there is, it's not making it intuitive where I can click to start the AI. I mean, there's this beast mode setting here, but then it just gets more complicated. I have to write queries and create calculated fields myself. So with this tool, Domo, I would say I would give it a 2 out of 5 for our needs as an AI tool. In terms of a data viz tool itself, I mean, it has a kind of similar feel to it as a Tableau. Tableau does something similar where they have the dimensions and measures on the left here. Now, another thing here is like I'm choosing a chart type, I'm dragging and dropping it into here, but it's not actually visualizing it. And that's another issue with a lot of these data viz tools. each one is so different, and like you really have to like sit down and watch a tutorial to understand how it's going. Like I don't think they're really aware about the UX issues. If you don't watch a tutorial, like you have no idea like exactly why this isn't working. Maybe I have to drag it, bring it down here or here. Oh, up here. Okay, so it probably is very similar to a, what do you call it? A Tableau. I think Tableau does something similar. And then general. Okay, so we're getting close here. We've added these to these places. Now drag dimension measure columns to start visualizing, customize the chart. Anyhow, I'm gonna play with this on my own to not waste your time, but you can kind of tell like this is not what exactly we are looking for at all. We're looking for an AI tool to help us out. Uh, so we reviewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would give first place to Julius. Second place, I give it a tie between ChatGPT and Formula Bot, with ChatGPT actually being further ahead because there's more you can do with it. This kind of relies on a data set. So actually, I give ChatGPT second place, Formula Bot third place, Cafe Rewards fourth place, and then Domo, I give it fifth place just based off our goals and what we're looking for. Um, Maybe I would regrade it if I was looking for a data viz tool. So that's how it is. This tool should not be advertising and paying money to show up first on Google Ads for these search terms, because it's not what someone looking for that would do. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found value in this video. Now, if you want to see further stuff like this, please hit that subscribe button, like button, and comment what video topic you want to see next. If you want tips on how you can get a job as a digital marketing analyst, and become financially well off, they pay pretty well, and get to this job, I share exclusive tips, offer free coaching, um, all on my exclusive email newsletter. Link is in the description. Join for free. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video.